best of the brightness once again to the far northwest of the country. But for all, it is still going to be feeling like a chilly day, particularly in exposed spots in those brisk winds. For the second half of the weekend, once again, plenty of cloud around, but the best of the brightness still across northern parts of Scotland, perhaps less so across parts of Wales. For many, it's going to be a cloudy day, some drizzle at times, and still a very small chance we could see some winteriness across the hills. And that cloud sticks around for the beginning of next week too, and that means temperatures are going to struggle, so still feeling rather chilly. Bye-bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Want to be one of 2 lucky Great British giveaway winners? That's right, you could win one of 2 prize bundles, which includes a brand new iPhone 16, £500 in shopping vouchers to spend in your favourite store, and an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. What would you spend that cash on? For a chance to win an iPhone, vouchers and £10,000 in cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Jonathan, in London, we're hearing that there could be more posties from an Amazon point of view in order to limit or cut carbon emissions, but that they could put more people on foot delivering their parcels.
This is really interesting because more and more people now obviously are using Amazon and buying their shopping online or buying gifts online. And it's interesting that in London they're talking about putting their Amazon workers on foot. There are now parts of the country, I think Milton Keynes is one part of the country, where there's robots delivering parcels, or
really?
You'll see these, well, they call them robots. You'll see these little things sort of bundling down the street.
Yes.
Sort of
robots.
Yeah, I mean, technically they're a robot, but when I think of a robot, I think of a sort of...
a humanoid robot.
Yeah, sort of humanoid thing, sort of, Lost in Space style robot. But actually, they're sort of... little sort of carriages, little
droids,
boxes,
like Star Wars droid type.
Well, they're not
thing.
even that. They're like a little sort of, they're like a box on wheels, delivering parcels in places like Milton Keynes and other bits of the country. So I think this is just another example of how the world is changing. Online shopping is completely changing the way in which we all live our lives, the way in things.
But I think Milton Keynes lends itself to something like that. This is a newly designed town.
Yeah, exactly, that's why they're in Milton Keynes.
And I really do think that a town like that really does lend itself towards a piece of tech like that. When I think back, our postie in Gloucestershire is a guy called Dave. He's fantastic. Everyone knows who he is. But I'm not sure that he could be replaced by one of these little droid things.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, it's 11 o'clock, which means it's time for tomorrow's newspapers tonight. Join us over the next hour, where we'll be discussing a Labour politician defects to reform. This is like a Soviet official crossing the Berlin Wall to freedom. And the Scottish Farmers Union has said that phrases such as farmer's wife and the word he are problematic. Do we need Trump to come over here and cut this nonsense out of our organisations too? And David Lammy is meeting with Caribbean officials who are demanding trillions of pounds as reparations. I guess it's lucky Britain has so much spare cash right now. I'm Leo Carson. Tonight I'm joined by the comedians Lewis Schaefer and Nick Dixon to take you through Saturday's top stories. There they are, ready to go. This is Headliners. But before Saturday's news, let's go to tonight's headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good evening to you. 11:01, exactly the top story from the newsroom tonight. The government has confirmed Grenfell Tower will be dismantled nearly 8 years after a fire sadly killed 72 people. The process will take around 2 years and is being done sensitively, with no changes made before June's anniversary of the disaster. The decision follows warnings that the damaged building is deteriorating and only remains stable due to protective measures. Local people and survivors, though, are divided. Some want the tower to remain as a memorial, while others say it's too distressing. Officials have said that key materials will be preserved, though, for a potential memorial if the community wishes. On day 19 of Donald Trump's second term in office, Japan has committed to doubling its defence spending by 2027. At a joint news conference earlier, Trump pledged the full strength of American defence to its ally as both nations ramp up cooperation against China and tackle North Korea's nuclear ambitions. Japan's Prime Minister promised $1 trillion of investment in the US, calling it unprecedented. Both leaders also vowed to take a lead in the AI, semiconductor and energy development sectors across the Indo-Pacific. Hamas has named the next hostages to be freed in Gaza this weekend, including 3 men. They are Eli Sharabi, Ohad Ben-Ami and Or Levy. 18 hostages have been released so far, with Israel freeing 383 Palestinian prisoners in return. By the end of this first ceasefire stage, 33 hostages and 1,900 prisoners are expected to be released, though Israel says 8 of those hostages are dead. Meanwhile, Hamas has accused Israel of blocking critical humanitarian aid, a claim disputed by the United Nations. Here, a new poll is predicting a 3-way tie at the next general election, with Labour cabinet ministers set to lose their seats and Nigel Farage holding the balance of power. The survey of almost 6,000 people found Reform UK would have 175 seats. Labour would drop from 412 to 174. And the Conservatives would gain around 50. Wes Streeting, Yvette Cooper and Angela Rayner would be among those to lose their seats, with the Conservative and Reform coalition the most likely outcome if an election was held tomorrow. And royal news, the King and Queen have been hosting a black-tie dinner at Highgrove tonight to celebrate Italian cuisine, joined by stars including Victoria and David Beckham and Stanley Tucci. Guests enjoyed a feast featuring British-sourced ingredients like Scottish crab and Isle of Wight tomatoes. Well, now you know. Tucci, a well-known foodie, inspired the menu, which embodied the slow food philosophy that King Charles has long championed. And special martinis were made with herbs from Highgrove Garden served alongside the meal. The event also highlighted sustainable slow fashion, with students showcasing their garment skills. What a way to spend Friday night. Those are the latest headlines. Plenty more still to come with Headliners.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sam, and hello and welcome to Headliners, your first look at tomorrow's top stories with 3 tip-top comedians. Let's kick off with a look at some of the front pages. The Sun leads with vile, rude and abusive. It's Lewis Schaefer, and we've got him on the show tonight. No, vile, rude and abusive, but ITV covered up for Gino, says Kim Woodburn. The Telegraph has Labour to open talks on slavery payouts. And the Times has alarm over diversity push. Now, more front pages in a second, but first, Lewis, what do you make of this Sun headline?
vile, rude, and abusive. But ITV covered up for Gino. At least it's not the BBC. It's usually the BBC. And since when is rude and vile? Is that illegal? Is it illegal? Meanwhile, the guy, this is Vasco da Gama. Oh, no, sorry, Gino de Campo. I was making a joke, because the girl who works here is from Portugal.
Oh, right.
And Vasco da Gama. I thought there was like a little...
Do some jokes that other people will get.
I don't care. What do we care about the
just
people?
explain them.
The point is this guy, he was on a million programs, supposedly. I don't know, everyone thought he was gay. Is he gay? I don't know if he's gay.
Why asking me?
I don't know, because you know.
I hadn't even heard of him until today. Now, how do I know if he's gay?
He's just flamboyant.
Because you fight for your heterosexuality.
Thank you.
So
Someone's
hard.
got to.
It's a losing battle,
But it's one of those typical stories about a guy in the office. This happens to be on TV. The guy's probably rich. He probably was with a few ladies, and it didn't work out to their... Why are you looking at me that way?
Speculate wildly. It's a good idea when
that's what
it's an ongoing case.
Listen, I'm an inch away from being too famous, where they will start saying these things about me.
I think it's a bit more than an inch.
Well, I mean, in the Mail it said he said and did whatever he wanted. I'm like, that is Lewis Schaefer. Like, how if that's a crime, then we're in a lot of trouble. I'm not going to comment because I don't want to get sued, and I never even heard the guy really. So I'm an intellectual.
All I know about him is he does cookery shows, and I know working in television. Yeah. We have a laugh. We have a laugh behind the scenes. We have a laugh in front of the scenes as well. Wherever we are, we have a laugh. And some of this, I'm not saying. You
are saying
he's
it.
just having a
You
laugh.
were justifying his bad behavior.
But from what I've heard, you're vile, rude, and abusive. That's, I mean, maybe to other people that was incredibly funny.
Now, do I have to go defend the people who've made these accusations against him? You're the one who's supposed to do that. You're the host of the show.
Well, you didn't against the people who made accusations against you.
We need balance. And I would do agree with Lewis. At least ITV is doing it, and that is balancing the BBC, and that's important for our delicate broadcast ecology.
Absolutely.
To quote Adam Bolton.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to keep them alive, these broadcasters. I mean, they're only getting 169 pounds of our money.
Well, not this one. This is ITV. But moving on to the Daily Telegraph, we've got this horrific story. I'm saying it's horrific because it's our tax money possibly going to the Caribbean because David Lammy seems to hate Britain.
You could have stopped there because David Lammy. It's Labour to open talks on slavery payouts. So this government loves just giving stuff away. So the Caribbean reparation team, why does that even exist, by the way? For the Foreign Office meeting, they're demanding 18... Well, the Prime Minister of Barbados has demanded 3.9 trillion, but others have said it's 18 trillion that we owe. Like, where'd they get these figures from? We did so much. I sound like Lewis. We did so much for the world. Yeah. The way I delivered that was very loose. And people don't appreciate it.
Is that Lewis Schaeferian?
It was just the way... Schaeferian was my delivery. Yeah. But it's just that we did so much for these people. We did so much for them.
Yeah.
And, but they don't appreciate it. And this government... They just love to give all our stuff away, and they hate... I mean, look at Lammy. He's the one that said back in 2020, there needs to be a reckoning with Britain's colonial past. And you get ideologues like this who basically hate Britain in the government, and that's what we have now. We have a government that hates Britain.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if we had a government with a bit of backbone, like they've got in America? They would just turn around to the Caribbean and say, "No, you're not having it. And if you try and take it, we're gonna
nuke you.
We're gonna nuke you."
Sorry.
That's what's happening. Is they say for 14 years they couldn't even get basically a meeting. Yeah. Dominic Cummings said, when they ask things like this, Chagos is an example he was using. Just say no.
Yeah, just say no. What's wrong with just saying no instead of so how much of other people's money can I give away? Yeah. The left are always so generous with other people's money, Lewis.
And it will make them happy, make the Caribbean islanders happy because they say, well, we asked. They can go back to their people and say that we asked. Yeah. I mean, maybe if there was a trade, maybe we'll give them money, but we'll also send back the people that are living here and living in the rest of the world, and the books that we brought these people, and the democracy that they're living under. I haven't been to Jamaica, but it's probably a lovely
I've been
place.
to Jamaica. I've been to Dominica. These are beautiful. In fact, Dominica has the only remaining population of original Carib Indians who were the original, population of the islands before.
If anyone was going to say the books we brought these people, I would have guessed you or Simon Evans. Maybe it was Lewis.
I don't know. I was just remembering a joke. I think it was Rich Voss's joke.
Yeah.
I wasn't telling his joke exactly.
Okay. I think with stuff like this, history. Some history needs to just stay in the past. We can learn from it, but it's hundreds of years on.
I love that.
We've got to move on. We don't have the money
in the past.
We don't have the money.
money.
But can you point out this Ecclestone? Because I'm an older man, and Bernie Ecclestone, who was the head of Formula One, I guess, he had a son at 89 years old.
Wow.
And he said,
That's old for a son.
I'm afraid that my son will see me as an old man.
Some fears are grounded.
No, if he's lucky, he'll be seen as an old man. If not, he'll be your dead father. He's lucky. He's lucky he's still alive. He hopes his son sees. He looks pretty good for a guy who's old.
Yeah. Well, he's very rich. Beautiful son. Very happy for him. But yeah, 89. I mean, I want to see the treehouse he builds.
He's doing his bit for the birth rate.
He's got so much money. He doesn't have to build a tree. He doesn't have to build a tree house. Let's get somebody to build it for him.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Moving on, let's look at. There's a story on there. Streeting is actually speaking out against us poaching staff for the NHS from other countries, but we're going to cover that later.
Yeah.
So if we move on to the Times, Lewis.
To the Times, which is my favourite newspaper. It's not. Times is £4.20. Excuse me, £4 tomorrow. It's going to be £4 tomorrow.
£4. It's $2.30 to subscribers.
Yeah. $2.30 to subscribe. But these people need to know the price.
They don't.
They do.
They don't. You tell them every night, and they know the price.
And if I don't tell them, they get mad at me.
He hasn't read the story, so what is he going to say if he doesn't say the price?
It says,
Let's be real. He was talking to the security guard instead of reading.
It says alarm over diversity push. Universities could lose research funding if they fail to prioritize inclusivity. This is like an anti-Trump world. Yeah. And let me tell you something, people out there, Trump is coming to this country. And if it's not going to be Trump, it'll be Farage, it'll be somebody who's going to act just like Trump, and this thing will be all over. Nobody wants inclusivity in this country.
So what is this story, though?
That has to come to me. Muggins here has to actually do the work.
Somebody who
while
can
you're
read.
walking around talking to people about meat.
But your IQ is so superior. The people know this.
Flattery won't work.
No,
you're forcing me to do work that you're supposed to be doing. I do double the work.
No.
Why don't you do some work?
I did. I read the headline for the thing, and I thought about that thing about Trump.
Look, he can't read the print. It's too small on it. It's the Research Excellence Framework, which is just some nonsense woke thing that's going to force you to have diversity initiatives, basically. Just as Lewis says, he's right. Yeah. Just as Trump is getting rid of all this, in our country we're going to impose this. You have to prioritise EDI and all this rubbish. It's so crazy. Just as why can't we be like Trump? We'll get there.
So this is universities are going to have quotas to say you've got to have enough, Paraguayan lesbians in this role, and you've got to have enough, hypoglycemic dwarves in this role. I mean, why don't we just pick the best candidate? Have a meritocracy and make it illegal to discriminate against people based on race or gender or whatever it is, which is fine the way it should be. Everybody should have an equal opportunity. But if you get the best person, regardless of whether they're Chinese or whatever, that's surely a better system than this sort of tick box pegging.
You need to step back, which is why should the central government, like China, be involved in the universities? Why should they let each university decide? Who the best people are going to university. Why should it be up to the government and say, you're not good enough, you're good enough, you're not good enough? That's number one.
I think the best people. Universities should pick the best people, because universities are teetering at the moment. They're losing all the esteem that they had. They're very expensive, and people are looking at them and saying, I can teach myself to be a transgender communist at home.
Yes.
I don't need to go to university and spend 50 grand.
But who are you, Leo, to tell the universities what to do? Let them decide if they want to have horrible DEI candidates or EDI candidates, or if they want to have non-horrible
And then they run themselves into the ground and they go bust.
Yes,
sounds like a good system.
Exactly.
So moving on, we've got some more front pages. We've got The Guardian with Trump's aid cuts could be a big mistake. That's according to David Lammy, and he's never been wrong yet. The Express has Reeves' tax raid hurts British farms. And the Daily Star has it's time to get the big coat out. Apparently it's going to be cold. That Guardian headline. We've got Lammy again, Nick.
Yes, Trump's aid cuts could be a big mistake. But what this is, we've heard a lot about this US aid. This is a big thing. It looks like it's saying you said, but it's US aid. If you haven't heard about it, it was things like projects like giving $20 million to an Iraqi version of Sesame Street, $2 million on Moroccan pottery classes, $27 million on gift bags to illegals before deporting them. There's a whole list of absurd things you could look up.
There was also drag shows in Ecuador, and there was transgender pride in Serbia.
Right.
This is the sort of thing I can understand. USAID is the sort of soft projection of American values around the world, which sounds like a good idea, democracy, stuff like that. But that's not the values that they're projecting. The values they're projecting are essentially sort of communism and transgenderism.
Yes, and the idea is, we're going to Trump's making a big mistake because he'll lose soft power to China, and they'll step in. Their economy's struggling now. They'll fill this void with all this soft power. I don't really buy it, and people in the story don't even buy it. There's a guy, Tom Wang, here, who says it warns against simplistic narratives of China replacing US soft power overnight. It's a load of nonsense, this stuff. That's why the guys are defending this USA. It's obviously nonsense. Trump's cutting back on the nonsense, and they're saying, oh, you're going to lose soft power to China. It's like, he'll save so much money. Yeah. He'll have to do what he wants anyway. He'll own the world.
And also another reason The Guardian might be speaking out against the cuts to US aid is some of the money was going to Politico, a left-wing media outlet. So millions was going as subscriptions to Politico. And The Guardian has a lot of subscriptions. They get a lot of subscriptions paid for by the taxpayer through councils. When I worked at Harringay Council, there were Guardian subscriptions.
But if I remember correctly, and I'm not sure about this, is that money has gone to The Guardian from this huge pool of money. It doesn't stand for U.S. aid. It stands for U.S. Agency for Industrial Development. So it could be anything. It's not like they're helping starving people. This is the worst. I didn't even realize how bad this thing was, because I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Do we actually know it's gone to Guardian? Because that's a very loose thing to say. I don't know if it
might be. I just want to make sure I'm not like.
I don't want to get sued.
And the worst
I do want you to get sued, but not me.
The worst thing is our enemy, and the enemy of this country and the people is this USAID gave money, millions of pounds, to the BBC. They steal money from you, and then wherever my camera is. We need a light.
It wasn't even on you. It was on Leo.
But I do agree with me on this about the BBC.
Well, yeah, but people have said, the cuts to US aid mean that people are going to starve in Africa and stuff. It's like, what were they eating, the drag queens?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, this is so much of this money. If it really had value, why did they corrupt it and use it to push these ridiculous far-left communist values? It's a nonsense. They should have just kept it to, feeding people and pushing democracy and things like that. Moving on, we've got the Express, Nick.
Isn't that Lewis? It's number 5.
Lewis.
Yeah, Reeves' tax raid hurts British farms. How much money is this? This is tomorrow at £2.40 for the Daily Express. Is this news? Is it news? Country Fire. So some other guy supports.
On the newspaper.
Yeah, front page.
It's the front, but that doesn't mean it's not new. It is news, but of course it's going to hurt British farms. So who is this guy? Country Fire's Adam Henson backs Express crusade to protect family farms. Is that these people, not just her, not just Reeves, who's like a councilwoman or whatever she is they're at war.
You mean the Chancellor?
Whatever she does for a living, she barely is good at it.
Lewis, I could have walked into Weatherspoons and asked someone and got a more coherent answer. Nick,
these people, you know what?
You moved so fast there. That was scary.
The people out there, they can read the newspaper themselves. They know exactly what it is. I gotta be like Nick and repeat
The whole show is redundant if they just read it themselves, and we don't need to say anything.
Yes.
But this is interesting.
What do we talk about?
This is a star of Country File, which is a big, landmark BBC show, and he's coming out and saying this isn't us. This isn't the evil little conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
This is a big BBC tentpole star saying the Reeves tax raid is hurting British farms. I think this is a big moment. This is the normies coming over and agreeing with us.
Well, maybe I can make an announcement. I'm against the Reeves tax raid too. Can I get the newspaper tomorrow?
You should do.
Maybe.
You're getting it for a lot of the things you said tonight. You'll get it a lot of court cases.
You know what's good about this show?
What?
Lewis Schaefer.
Is that it?
Yes.
I've heard you're more sort of hit and miss. I look at the comments. You're a sort of cult. They like me a lot. They like Leo. You're a sort of some like you, some don't.
But the great ones are always hit and miss.
Okay. That's the front pages looked at. Join us after the break to get under the covers with Trump. Reform climb even higher in the polls. And should you cancel your council tax? A lot of people are. This is Headliners only on GB News.
Lee Anderson's Real World. Fridays from 7 p.m.
Aaron McLean, the goal machine here, you used to play for Peterborough United. You bagged loads of goals for them back in the day. But I've got a bone to pick with you, young man. You scored at the City ground against Nottingham Forest for, was it Hull City?
For Hull City, yeah.
Why did you do that?
Well, that was my job, unfortunately. I must say, that was actually one of my favourite goals.
Was it really?
Because I remember, obviously, playing at the City Ground, unbelievable stadium, historic.
It is great.
So, and we beat you 1-0.
OK, no need to rub it in. These sports clubs, whether it's football or rugby or whatever, should offer two alternatives, either a professional footballer, or if you don't quite make it, you can still go and play football at a lower level, but have a career as well, maybe be an electrician or a plumber.
100%. You know, listen, I've had multiple conversations with various different people, whether it's the PFA or whether it's clubs. Even players who do have careers, you know, there's so many that don't make it and don't quite make it to the level or only play at a lower level. There's so many that do have long careers, but once you come to the end of that, you've spent, you know, for me, I spent 20 years as a professional footballer. Once I finished playing, what do you then do for the rest of your life? You know, at 35, once you retire, you still have to have a purpose in life. But I'd almost be starting from ground zero. I'm fortunate that I went into coaching and then went into the media.
That's good.
But for every one of me, there's hundreds that don't. And I've got so many friends who, I've got to say, you know, have really, really struggled on the, you know, mental health side.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, because you go from, like, playing in stadiums, big stadiums, small stadiums, crowds, singing your name, and all that sort of stuff, that adulation, the buzz of winning games, and you know, the downs of losing games, and you go from that to sort of nothing when you finish. I mean, that's a big come down there.
It's a huge come down.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Headliners on GB News. I forgot what show we were on there. I was looking at your say comments. We've got a couple here. John Get Starmer Out, that's an interesting surname, says, see now, this is three comedians. I'm having a proper laugh tonight. And somebody else says that Lewis needs a haircut. I'm not one to comment on that department.
At least I've got hair to cut.
Let's kick off the Express. And should you pay for services you don't receive? A lot of Brits aren't receiving local council elections, so they're not paying their local council tax, Lewis.
Well, then they should go to America, because this country is not a country that believes in democracy. Anyway, this is angry Brits cancelling their council tax payments after elections are postponed. He says, I'm not paying. And this is in the Express, and this is a fantastic article because it doesn't name any names. It doesn't tell how many people are not paying. It's completely air. Maybe some...
No, there are lots of... They quote lots of people here who say... And when people tweet something...
It's got to be true.
That's gospel.
It's got to be true. Like all my craziness about eating meat. Believe that.
So a lot of people have seen you. He's nothing but cornflakes. But a lot of people are saying they're not going to pay their council tax. And this is a serious issue because Labour have cancelled a lot of local authority elections this year, Nick. And Labour have said, oh, we have to because of blah blah blah.
Yes.
But really, I mean, that's the excuse that Putin would use.
Oh well, power always justifies itself and then rationalises it later. But yes, I can see why they're not paying it. Not that I'm advocating not paying the council tax. I've paid mine, but. Yes, as if they don't get to vote, you can see the argument. But they'll be cracked. My worry is they'll be cracked down on because once this whole tax racket gets exposed, that's the thing that the governments really don't want to happen. Once people stop paying tax, because the whole thing falls apart. Then you see, Lewis, they've got no money.
Yeah.
And this Labour government, though, I do think is making a mistake. They're making many mistakes, but unlike Blair, Blair radicalised the country, but he did it. He did it more stealthily, and he had a lot of popularity. Whereas Labour are just making all kinds of changes. They're just tearing up the country, but they're hated. So my hope is that they're completely destroyed in 2029. My only worry is they destroy the country first.
Yeah, I don't think they'll make it to 2029. And also, I don't believe all their excuses about these elections. I think a lot of them it's very convenient that they seem to be blocking reform from taking these these council seats. Moving on to the Express again, and Reform aren't just taking votes from Labour, they're also taking politicians from Labour as well, Nick.
Yeah, this is Lee Anderson Hale's seismic moment as Labour councillor defects to Reform. And this is Cathy Mason of the Ashfield District Council, says she was disappointed with Sir Keir Starmer's policies, including stripping most pensioners of winter fuel payments. And this is hardly surprising, is it? Because this is this current Labour government. Who are their main voters? Well, stats reveal that it's people who earn a lot of money, especially the over 70,000 bracket, and it goes down the lower you earn, whereas Reforms goes up, with under 20,000 a year being the people most likely to vote for Reform. So, of course, Labour doesn't care about less well-off people anymore. And if you're a sort of old Labour type, or you're a sort of red wall type, you're not going to like this Labour government because they hate the country, whereas the old Labour types have a residual patriotism. So it's not surprising to me that Labour people are now defecting to Reform. Reform have always said we'll get votes from Labour, but now they're getting actual candidates from them.
Yeah, and when candidates go, it's usually because they can see that their base would rather vote for the party that they're moving to than the party they're leaving.
Yes, that's exactly right, which is why the parliamentary system is so bad, because these people who are deciding what political party based on whether they're going to get elected next year, which just shows I don't think this is a major thing. There's something wrong with Reform if you are a Labour person, which is the party of Team World, and you want to go to the nation-state party.
But I think Labour originally would have been the party for a lot of Reform voters, just as Nick points out. You know, they were the party of the working man, the striver, the grafter.
Yeah.
And now they're not. Now they're the party of the, the sort of idle middle classes who are overeducated and understimulated and have too many pronouns.
When was that? When I'm very familiar with Labour Party people.
The other thing is an authenticity. Someone stopped me on the street once who'd seen the show, and I got talking to them. They voted Corbyn, but if he hadn't been standing, they were going to vote Reform. So there's also a thing where people want authenticity, and it doesn't always map to what you think might make sense ideologically.
That's a good point. But the actual leaders of the party, say someone who is a Labour councillor, what does that guy believe that he could go to
Woman, Cathy.
Woman. Oh, it's a woman.
Well, let's move on. We've got the Independent, Lewis, and Ed Miliband is backing down on at least one of his ridiculous communist green policies.
Oh, my God, this guy is ridiculous. Now even Ed Miliband, who's David Miliband's older brother, doesn't matter really, backs Heathrow. So much for his green dream. This is in the Independent. How much is the Independent tomorrow?
Just tell us the story. We've got a minute.
The Independent is free because it's online. I don't know what we're doing reporting this, because it's in the Independent. But the fact is there's no such thing as a green dream. Anti-carbon is not green. The more carbon you have, the greener the world is. So carbon neutral, carbon zero, whatever.
That's a great point, because the more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, not that I'm saying it's a great idea to fill the atmosphere with carbon dioxide, but the more there is, I mean, that's plant food. So, we see the greening of the deserts, we see plants growing better. It's almost like fertiliser. And Labour got in promising cheap energy through all their green technology, and they're going to slash bills by up to £300. Instead, bills are projected to rise by £800.
And hilariously, he's claimed that's why he was right. He's like, the only way to bring bills down and get control back is to have clean, homegrown power that we control. And as the writer says here, in other words, our failure vindicates our plan, which is also Lewis's motto. I
never have a plan.
You wonder how Ed Miliband's got this job. It reminds me of the current Man United team. We did win tonight, but it's just like shuffling the formation around endlessly because there's not enough good players, right? So let's get Ed. Remember Ed Miliband, that guy that failed a few years ago? Let's get him back.
It's the guy eating that sandwich he shouldn't have had, the sarnie.
Never have had. He should have taken out the bread, Lewis, like you.
Yeah, well, you know what? He should have taken... Exactly. That's why he's so horrible. Here is the truth. The truth is that this political party is gone. It's a question how long it's going to be, whether, like Nick says, whether it'll be there.
And also, if you look at the Labour's green policies... The only person who seems to be doing well out of them is one of the big donors to Labour, Dale Vince. So he's a green energy baron. He's worth over £100 million and donates millions of pounds to Labour. And then, Labour give lots of green subsidies back. It's almost, it feels like a,
like a USAID kind of thing.
It feels like a USAID kind of thing. Anyway, that's it for this section. But coming up, J.K. Rowling sticks the boot into lefties and why farmer's wife is a problematic term. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Heading towards the weekend, still plenty of cloudy skies, also some showers and a little bit of hill snow, and it's still going to be remaining chilly in those brisk easterly winds. That's all thanks to an area of high pressure across Scandinavia, bringing us this brisk easterly flow. So it is going to be feeling chilly in the winds, and it is dragging in some cloud, also some rain and some showers across the southeast, pushing up into Wales and central parts of the UK. And this is likely to bring some snow across the hills of Wales, perhaps even the Pennines later in the morning. But a slightly different story to the northwest, clearer and drier here, likely to see some frost during the first part of the morning. Now, for the beginning of the weekend across the south, it could be quite a damp start for some, with some showers, these merging into longer spells of rain, particularly across parts of East Anglia and the southeast. So quite a murky start to the day, perhaps a few clearer spells across Cornwall. And similar across Wales, northern parts of England, quite a cloudy start, but clearer to the northwest of Ireland, northwestern parts of Scotland. But here, that's where we're going to see the frost. And we will start to see some showers just edging their way into eastern parts of Scotland too. Once again, we could see some winteriness to these showers, particularly across high ground and the hills of Scotland. And that's pretty much the setup for the rest of the day. Still a fair amount of cloud around. It could be quite drizzly at times. Still a chance we could see some flurries of snow across high ground in Wales, parts of the Pennines, and the best of the brightness once again to the far northwest of the country. But for all, it is still going to be feeling like a chilly day, particularly in exposed spots in those brisk winds. For the second half of the weekend, once again, plenty of cloud around, but the best of the brightness still across northern parts of Scotland, perhaps less so across parts of Wales. For many, it's going to be a cloudy day, some drizzle at times, and still a very small chance we could see some winteriness across the hills. And that cloud sticks around for the beginning of next week too, and that means temperatures are going to struggle, so still feeling rather chilly. Bye-bye.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
It's the menace.
Welcome back to Headliners. I've got another couple of comments from GB News USA. Brett Wilkins says net zero carbon is also net zero vegetation as they feed on CO2. Ironic, isn't it? And yet, at one point in the Earth's history, life on Earth was almost extinguished because CO2 fell so far, and we were saved by fungi breaking down rotten wood, I believe. And Jackie Briggs says, Lewis has the most beautiful hair, a woman's dream. It was a jealous man that made that comment, lol. So I think you're in there, Lewis. Moving on, we've got the Telegraph now with the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, attacking the NHS's reliance on foreign doctors. Although if you walk around a hospital in London, you'll see a reliance on foreign patients as well, Lewis.
You see it exactly, but of course they don't rely on the NHS because the NHS doesn't do anything. This is Streeting attacks. It doesn't do anything.
It does a lot of stuff.
True. Well, you defend it then. I'm not going to defend it. I go there all the time.
Well, it does that. It puts up with you.
If you have
How much
cancer,
are you draining? You are draining the NHS.
I'm not draining. I just get the test. They give them...
Shut up about your own personal life and tell us about the story on the newspaper.
Is there are lots of foreign people, and they're just as incompetent as the homegrown talent.
No, they're more incompetent, according to this article.
According to this, because there's racists. They're trying to show that these homegrown people are doing weird things because they come from weird places where they do weird things.
Well, also there's not the same, there's not the same level of scrutiny and oversight to the tests and stuff when somebody's moving from one country to another. another. People can falsify their records instead of waiting to get here to falsify them. And there's some horrific stories of abuse. Like there was Hossam Halim, who was struck off after a series of allegations, including a rectal examination on a 17-year-old who did not have capacity to consent, and sexually harassing a female Muslim colleague. So he'd come from Egypt and he blamed British culture of drinking and socialising.
Of course, when I was growing up, we had really great doctors. My doctor, Dr. Shipman, he was amazing. he never rectally
If only he'd got you around about now.
You know what?
Nick,
Well, before Lewis gets in any more trouble, Wes Streeting is attacking the NHS reliance on foreign doctors and saying we're too willing to pull the immigration lever and that we need to boost homegrown talent. But he's got to be careful because Starmer will start calling him far right in a minute. You can be, if you're Streeting, you can be far more radical in the NHS than the Tories can get away with. And there's been this 400% rise. Number of 400%. Basically, the number of coming from the European economic areas remained about stable since 2016, but a number from the rest of the world has risen 400% in the same period. Here's another stat. In 2016, it was the last time the UK trained more doctors than it imported.
Wow.
So that's where we are. It's absolutely shocking.
And it also seems a bit sick for us to be poaching, the best talent from over. If countries like Zambia, I can't imagine they've got as many resources as Britain to train up nurses and doctors, and then we poach them.
We're nicking them. It's called the WHO Red List. Whatever you think of the WHO, they've got shortages, and we're nicking them in a brain drain. Yes, it's kind of immoral in that way as well.
Can I say that we need half or third or maybe 2/3 less doctors in the NHS, and we wouldn't need to import any. We just don't need as many doctors.
We just need to be eating meat.
Thank God Lewis.
To say it.
Thank God Lewis is not in a position of political power, is all I can say. We've got the Daily Mail now.
I'm as good as
and
Robert
J.K. Rowling has slammed lefties, please cut Lewis's mic, for being their own worst enemies over transport.
Is it on?
So... Do you mind, Liz? So it's J.K. Rowling says left-wingers who have campaigned to destroy women's and girls' rights are to blame for Trump's transgender sports ban. And this is fascinating because she had this tweet. Congratulations to every single person on the left who's been campaigning to destroy women and girls' rights. Without you, there'd be no images like this. And so it's sort of saying that, you've let Trump have the win. In a way, you could just enjoy the win. Martina Navratilova was strong on it. She was just furious about this. But my question is, it reminds me of the No Country for Old Men. I look at these people, these Democrats, I say, if the rule that brought you here, if the rule you followed brought you here, of what use was the rule? So why don't they look at it and say, I need to reassess my whole worldview because my side got it so wrong and Trump got it so right, but they need to look further and say maybe they should support Trump. But if you're a Rowling or a Navratilova, you won't. You'll stay on the left and you'll say the radical trans movement is because of misogyny, which I've never bought that it is. I think their diagnosis of it is wrong. They've been great campaigners against it. They're completely on the correct side of the issue, but they don't like Trump winning it because they're still clinging to the left, and they're clinging to the idea that somehow this comes from misogyny. I believe it comes from left-wing thinking. But anyway,
it's postmodernism. It's almost an extension of feminism. It's whatever wave we're on. It's 18th wave feminism, where instead of women can do anything men can do, men are women.
Yeah.
But also, if I could say that women think they're as good as men, so they don't care if men participate. But men are so much better, even the ones who. The point about this story is, J.K. Rowling.
He means it's sport.
He means it's sports.
Oh, right.
J.K. In life, they think we can.
I tried to help you there.
I thought you meant as a wife.
Every which way. But the point about J.K. Rowling is 25 years ago, I went to an event in London.
I doubt this is the point.
No, this is the point. Because J.K. Rowling is one of those left-wing women.
Yeah.
She was totally involved in this. She was giving money for women to divorce their husbands and be on their own. So she's a cause of this. That's why it's been a miracle that she's changed.
But it's interesting that
changed. But feminism has changed. That's what it is, and so it's gone to a point beyond that she's comfortable with.
Yeah, and it's completely
but
decoupled.
She doesn't blame herself. She's going woo-woo to those women.
But it's completely decoupled from reality now, because they say, in their ideological world, it's like, oh yes, no, of course, a trans woman is a real woman, so of course they should go into female changing rooms. But then you get some big lumpy bloke who's just like, oh, I'm a woman. And it's like, come on, you're not a woman. We've got to be real about this sort of stuff. Also, it's interesting that we've got people on the left decrying Martina Navratilova and J.K. Rowling as Nazis, and the idea that they're far right in some way is just an absolute nonsense. Not that I'm saying the Nazis were far right; they were far left, of course. They were socialists. Well, moving on, we've got the Daily Mail now, and gender inclusivity has reached the world of farming with predictably idiotic results, Lewis.
Daily Mail, £1.60 tomorrow, which is a very good value. Don't say I love the Daily Mail. I don't believe anything that it says, but I love it. Okay, don't say farmer's wife, as it reinforces gender stereotypes. The NFU, which is the National Federation for National Farmers Union, tells its Scottish members amid new inclusivity drive. They're going around saying that a farmer is not necessarily a man, that it's inappropriate for a board meeting to be a night out in a pub. You know, it's basically common sense views, because there are probably many women who are farmers.
I mean, were there many women calling for these changes? I think a night out in a pub is a perfectly proper thing for a bunch of farmers to do.
I think a lot of farmers, they can be, I don't know farmers, I don't think I've never met a farmer, but I think that farmers don't know what's appropriate. I've taken a girl, you know what I mean?
They know better than anyone. They know reality better than anyone.
This is ridiculous, Nick. They're treating farmers as if they're, students at Goldsmiths or something. They're saying, don't use phrases such as what the housewife wants and bring your wife and the shopping is great, because these are sexist phrases.
Yeah. They also said they can't say, what are you doing here, or ask how many acres someone has. Next, you'll be saying you can't say, get off my land. What's the point of being a farmer if you can't ask about the acres? And they say other reforms that NFU recommended are making a consistent effort to support initiatives such as ag respect and take part in Pride March. They're going to send farmers to a Pride March. Come on.
So we're going to have a combine harvester going down a Pride March. I mean, this could end in disaster.
And they'll have pitchforks, so it's always a bad thing for a march.
Well, you're saying there are no gay farmers. Of course there are
no gay farmers, all women.
Have you ever seen what Peppa the Pig looks like? Beautiful.
Also, they gave an example of an offensive thing that a member said, which was, Nicola Sturgeon, only good thing about her is her legs. I mean...
That is quite offensive.
Her legs are terrible. They should have said Nicola Sturgeon has no redeeming features whatsoever, including her legs. That would have been a more accurate thing to say. Anyway, moving on, we've got the Daily Mail now, and Kanye West thinks Donald Trump missed someone out in his presidential pardons. P. Diddy, Nick.
Yes, it's Diddy responds after Kanye West backtracked on their feud and called for disgraced rapper to be freed from jail in shock social media meltdown. Is it a shock? I don't know, there's been quite a few of these social media meltdowns, so-called. Or is it 5D chess? Who knows? So yeah, Ye, as he's now called, has been on a kind of Twitter tirade recently, and he said free Puff, meaning Diddy, and he's taken his side. Though he's also said, I love Hitler. So in that context, Diddy might be a bit less thrilled to get the endorsement. He seems to be on a strange tirade, Ye. I've got a controversial opinion. Why not? He keeps saying all these things about how he loves Hitler. Hitler was so fresh. He's doing it so much now. He even tweeted, I'm a Nazi. I'm hoping people don't clip these out of context, by the way. But he's doing this so much now. I just wonder if he's just breaking taboos for the sake of it, which ironically is kind of a liberal thing to do.
Ooh.
So that's my little switcheroo at the end.
Yeah,
he's praising Hitler because he's a liberal.
Yeah, he's postmodern far-left ideology.
But you know what? He tempered his comment because he said he liked Jews too. Yeah. So he took away the love that he meant from the first part. The point is, I don't particularly like Hitler. Well, I don't like all of Hitler's things. He did a lot of nice things. He was well dressed. He was good with kids. He had a nice dog. You know, maybe they should ask Kanye what part of Hitler.
Right, you're saying it's a mixed bag with Hitler.
With Hitler, you can't be totally against the guy.
And it is progress, surely, that the Nazis in 2025 are now a racially diverse organisation with Kanye West as a member.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they got to let people in. Business has been so bad for the Nazis. When they started to let the Jews in, I mean, that's going a bit too far.
OK, we'll come back for the final section with Trump bringing back plastic straws. You'll finally be able to drink that gin and tonic. A football commentator in trouble for telling the truth about women's football, and Ireland getting another wave of immigration. This time it's from America. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
A wet start to this weekend in Mallorca, but the rain should be clearing from the Balearics by Sunday. Plenty of showers to come across Italy. Lots of fine and sunny weather over the Greek islands. A bit of a chilly breeze, though, blowing here across Turkey and Cyprus. Some wet weather, as I said, across Italy and the south of France, looking pretty soggy. That rain clearing away from the Balearics. Plenty of sunshine across the Canaries. That should last through the weekend into the early part of next week. Sunny on Sunday in Barcelona.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Underestimate what you did, because to do it in their backyard as well, I bet they weren't happy about it, were they, Brad?
No, definitely not. Well, it makes it all the more sweeter. So they're usually pretty dominant in a two-man event, but four-man's usually where we can challenge them. And yeah, we managed to do it yesterday and put down 2 solid runs. And yeah.
So yeah, funding was a big issue for us in the last quad, but because of our results recently, we've picked up a lot more funding from UK Sport. So we're well funded now, and but yeah, the Bob is in the back of the van behind us, so we're driving it down to St Maritz as we speak. So yeah, it's, that's how it all works in the background in bobsleigh.
Brad, you're the pilot, correct? So you're up front.
Yeah.
Now, what happens? I always wonder, because I remember seeing John Noakes on. Do you remember John Noakes on Blue Peter when he fell out of the bob and he ended up showing the back of his backside on TV because he had a big scar on there? What? So you've got the brake man. You're at the front. So where are you then, Aaron? Are you what number are you?
So I'm number 3. Yeah.
Right. So what do you do there? Is it just a matter of it's the running power is what it's all about to get off to a good start, and then you can sit and enjoy the ride?
Yeah, that's it. So for number 2 and myself, number 3, it's all about getting that bob off the line and then just zipping it up to as high a speed as we can, basically. Getting in, staying low, having good aerodynamics, and staying still and let Brad do the work.
Yeah, it's definitely not a comfortable position for them, because we're bending them and twisting them into quite an uncomfortable position to get as aerodynamic as possible. And when you've got 6 times G's pushing you through that is not... Yeah, not
definitely
fun.
Stiff back this morning, that's for sure.
Because I'm just thinking where me and Eamon would sit. Is it 2 and 3, or would he go at number 4? What do you fancy?
I would be too frightened to do that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got a couple more comments from your say. So First Last says, on the subject of men pretending to be women, I see 2 of those this evening sitting either side of Lewis. Oh. So harsh. And Mark Gerard says, Headliners must cost this channel £2,000 a night. Well, I'm impressed you think we cost so much. We've got the Daily Mail now, and comedian Harry Deansway has ended up owing a comedy production company 60 grand. And this time, it's not for doing the Edinburgh Fringe, Nick.
Yes, I took on Steve Coogan's BBC-backed comedy empire and lost everything. I'm going bankrupt and may have to sell my dog. As a fellow comic, he should show me mercy. And as you say, this is Harry Deansway. I remember doing gigs with him years ago, so I certainly don't want to diss Harry. And
I'll do it.
Well, I don't know him that well, but I feel bad that he has to pay $61,000. He claimed that the Baby Cow Productions live at the Moth Club copied his show Shambles, which is a YouTube show. I haven't seen it either because I don't follow comedy. I hate the comedy world so much. Even watching it would make me feel physically sick, so I don't watch any of it. But I do feel bad for Harry because he says I'm persona non grata in the comedy industry, and I could totally relate to that part because I remember the whole comedy world piling on me. So that part I can relate to.
Yeah, but you're good at comedy. You're good at comedy.
Thank you.
Whereas Harry Deansway, I don't know what he's like as a person, but I gigged with him, and it was a really fun gig. It was one of these burlesque, mixed bit it was run by Victoria. Anyway, really fun show.
Detail.
Really fun show, and Harry just nosedived it. Well, absolutely, just brought the energy down. Was moody, was rubbish at comedy, and then he's tried to sue Steve Coogan. That's like, unless you're going to win. Well, it's a dumb move to go to court.
But he could have won. Maybe in another country he could have won. He's Steve Coogan, who's like an amazing guy. I did a TV show with Steve Coogan. If you Google Baby Cow, Louis Schaefer, 2000 or something, I did some good jokes I told.
Weird how all these stories are about you.
They are, because the whole world is about me, because the people tune in to see me. Right. But the point is, you can't win a court case. This is good for Harry. It's been £61,000. How much money did he get for doing this article for the Daily Mail? How much publicity is he getting?
Not £60,000.
Yeah, no, it's not good publicity. Oh, I lost a court case.
To be fair, it says even the judge in the High Court found that Baby Cow's show appeared to have the same central underlying idea. And I've had ideas I felt were stolen, and it's not a pleasant feeling. I'm not saying it was, but I've had ideas I felt were stolen.
I'm absolutely certain that, I believe that Harry has a point. And I believe Harry. I believe Harry. But, that's just what happens in comedy. All good ideas. You have a good idea. You tell somebody in the pub. All of a sudden you see it, you'll see it 6 months later pop up on Dave or something like that. Yeah.
I agree with you. Let the people who are watching it say, wait a second, that reminds me of Harry Dean's Way's show that was on. I know the guy. I like the guy. I think the guy is funny, or he's been funny. Is funny.
He's only funny in a sort of Louis Schaefer kind of way.
Well, that's what I consider funny.
As in, will tank a gig.
Yes.
Anyway, we've got the Sun now, and it sounds like Donald Trump is sick of sucking his Diet Coke through a disintegrating, mushy bit of paper, Lewis.
I'm not tanking this show. I'm building it up. Trump, this is in the Sun. Trump, I'm going to cry. Trump announces war on woke paper straws that don't work. Pledges order to bring back plastic straws. And he hasn't done it yet, but he's going to do it. And the President of the United States can't bring back plastic straws, but he can make it possible to really, to promote it.
I think he can bring them back. I mean, with the other stuff, I mean, he can nuke countries. So he can probably bring back plastic straws.
He needs to bring back plastic. He says this, so the straws are interesting, very Trump comment. Everybody focuses on the straws, but he says there's a lot of other things to focus. He's talking about the plates, the wrappers, everything's bigger than the straws. So it's a great point. It reminds me of the tethered bottle cap that we're forced to use because of the EU on those bottles. I've switched brand just to get rid of it. Do you know the tethered bottle?
Yes, that's
It's
brilliant.
just attached, idiotically attached.
Yeah,
I'm probably not allowed to mention which brand, but certain brands. Text me in private. Don't text me.
I just bite the side of the bottle now and drink it like a vampire.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're reduced to. It's so idiotic. We need to bring back plastic.
Absolutely. Plastic is great, and the paper straws just don't work.
We love plastic.
Moving on, we've got the
I'm
Independent
against
now
plastic.
with
I want to be
football commentator Alan Brazil. Don't cut to Lewis. Don't encourage him.
Yeah.
In trouble for saying that women's football isn't as important as men's, but women's football is easier because you're just playing against women, Nick.
Well, that's disgusting, Leo. But it's what Alan Brazil revealed about the men who hate women's football. It's a very long, independent piece. So what he revealed is some feminist fluff. But basically, I watched the clip. I thought it was fine. Alan Brazil is just being realistic. He's just saying, when people talk about Man United, they mainly mean the men's team. That's what I took from it. It's like, yes, obviously. But we have to have this weird pretense. It's OK to have women's football. We don't have to pretend it's reached the same level of interest as men's football, because it obviously hasn't.
Yeah.
Why can't we admit that?
And that's reflected in the ticket sales. I mean, you can't force people to buy tickets for it.
I saw one guy moaning about this on Twitter. It turned out you go to his timeline. He'd never mentioned women's football once, but he was just telling off Alan Brazil. It's virtue signaling. Yeah. Sorry, Lewis. I've jumped in.
No, I don't. I'm a little confused. Which kind of football is this?
It's not the American football where you hold the rugby ball. It's proper football. Anyway, the show is nearly over, so let's take another quick look at Saturday's front pages. The Sun has vile, rude and abusive, but ITV covered up for Gino, says Kim Woodburn. The Telegraph has Labour to open talks on slavery payouts. The Times has alarm over diversity push at universities. The Guardian has Trump's aid cuts could be a big mistake, according to David Lammy. The Express has Reeves' tax raid hurts British farms. That's according to Star of Countryfile. And the Daily Star has it's time to get the big coat out because it's cold. And that's all we have time for. Thank you to my guests, Lewis and Nick. I'll be back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Nick and Steve N. Allen. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast. Goodbye. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front.
Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Heading towards the weekend, still plenty of cloudy skies, also some showers and a little bit of hill snow, and it's still going to be remaining chilly in those brisk easterly winds. That's all thanks to an area of high pressure across Scandinavia, bringing us this brisk easterly flow. So it is going to be feeling chilly in the winds, and it is dragging in some cloud, also some rain and some showers across the southeast, pushing up into Wales and central parts of the UK. And this likely to bring some snow across the hills of Wales, perhaps even the Pennines later in the morning. But a slightly different story to the northwest, clearer and drier here, likely to see some frost during the first part of the morning. Now, for the beginning of the weekend across the south, it could be quite a damp start for some, with some showers, these merging into longer spells of rain, particularly across parts of East Anglia and the southeast. So quite a murky start to the day, perhaps a few clearer spells across Cornwall. And similar across Wales, northern parts of England, quite a cloudy start, but clearer to the northwest of Ireland, northwestern parts of Scotland. But here, that's where we're going to see the frost. And we will start to see some showers just edging their way into eastern parts of Scotland too. Once again, we could see some winteriness to these showers, particularly across high ground and the hills of Scotland. And that's pretty much the setup for the rest of the day. Still a fair amount of cloud around. It could be quite drizzly at times. Still a chance we could see some flurries of snow across high ground in Wales, parts of the Pennines, and the best of the brightness once again to the far northwest of the country. But for all, it is still going to be feeling like a chilly day, particularly in exposed spots in those brisk winds. For the second half of the weekend, once again, plenty of cloud around, but the best of the brightness still across northern parts of Scotland, perhaps less so across parts of Wales. For many, it's going to be a cloudy day, some drizzle at times, and still a very small chance we could see some winteriness across the hills. And that cloud sticks around for the beginning of next week too, and that means temperatures are going to struggle, so still feeling rather chilly. Bye-bye.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're giving you not one, but 2 chances to win this month, with 2 prize bundles that include an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash. But that's not all. You'll also get a brand new iPhone 16 and a £500 shopping voucher to spend at your favourite store. So why not be extra lucky this month? For a chance to win an iPhone, vouchers and £10,000 in cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. I'm Lee Anderson. Tonight on the show we've got political commentator Chloe Dobbs. Labour's left in the corner is Chris Worrell. Also got radio legend Alex Dyke, and social media influencer on Last Orders is Christine